There's 4 divisions in the directorate. We've got undergraduate education, all of K-12 and informal science, which when people go, what's informal science? They go, come on, how many people have seen Bill Nye the Science Guy? Right? Yeah, and at the very end of Bill Nye the Science Guy, it says funded in part by the National Science Foundation. That's the informal science aspect. And we have graduate education, and we also have the human resource development, which is where the programs like the programs for historically black colleges, the HBCU program is located there, programs for students with disabilities, although HITEC also has its own portfolio of first of all, one of our centers, which is here today, and is one of the centers that's helping support this entire conference, the HI-TEC Center. So the center that's looking at technician education for deaf and hard of hearing individuals. So that's another one. Dave's like, it's okay, so let's go on. But we're going to tell you about the Division of Undergraduate Education today, and just hopefully give you a few points and a few thoughts about. Yeah. Yeah. And Dave is the co-lead on the ATE program. In the Division of Undergraduate Education, and you are going home to Southwestern College in
14 days.
There we go.
But who's counting?
So boy, am I glad you showed up.
Well, I'm sorry. We're the folks from Clark College. I was having this conversation about Interconnect, and I thought it was a 1:30. I had brain flatulence. Something happened.
All right, so let's keep rolling, because one of the things I did find, so I kind of covered this, there's a $7.2 billion. The other thing to point out here, ATE is very interesting to a lot of people. The average award size across NSF is under $200,000. So people look at ATE from all different areas and go, oh my goodness, a project can go up to $900,000 over 3 years. And centers get millions of dollars, right? So there's a lot of interest in this program, kind of across the spectrum. But that was one of the things. The other one is to look at, on the left-hand side, the funding, the general overall funding rate of proposals submitted to NSF is 22%. So it's highly competitive, right? You got to really think about what you're doing when you're preparing things. So this just gives you the overall 2014 funding rates. In education and human resources, in EHR, the overall rate was 17%. In DUE, the Division of Undergraduate Education, it was 19%. How many program officers are we? Maybe
25, 20, mid-20s.
Mid-20s. So we handled 1,713 proposals last year. DUE handles, I think, almost more proposals than a majority of the other divisions and directorates. Although I guess DMR.
And we were down. Actually, it's usually over 2,000.
Yeah.
Because of IUs enveloping two-step and wider instead of giving individual awards and all those programs.
Yeah. Yeah. There were fewer. So, but again, that just kind of gives you an idea.
Yeah, the comparison to MPS, the mathematics and physical sciences, shows that we're even more competitive than. So mathematics, physical sciences, astronomy, chemistry, physics, materials research, and mathematical sciences. So, as competitive as those are for research awards, even more competition awaits those who submit to education and human resources. So, just as a comparison.
Yep. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'd like to, we want to talk specifically about some of the programs that would be of interest to you in the Division of Undergraduate Education, and we boxed in red the 4 we think are probably of the most specific interest to you. That's the ATE program, which we've already talked a little bit about. The program Improving Undergraduate STEM Education, or IUs. We have to use acronyms, right? The federal government. We used to, when I first got there as a rotator, we'd be in the middle of a session, and all the rotators would be going, time out, time out. The last 20 words you just used are complete garble to me. I have no idea what you're talking about. So Improving Undergraduate STEM Education is IUs. The next one is the STEM Scholarship Program. How many people have academically talented, financially needy students on their campus? Everybody should be looking at this program. Everybody should be looking at this program. It's also funded out of H-1B visa money. So it's one that is very well funded. It's approximately $150 million a year, somewhere around there, depending on the number of H-1B visas that are sold in the United States. Then the last one is a Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship Program. For a lot of the two-year institutions, it depends. I know some institutions are awarding four-year degrees in teacher education. This is one for students that are majoring in a STEM discipline but are interested in becoming teachers and being credentialed. And the reason for putting it up here is you can do a two-year, four-year partnership, and your students can get early experiences. Maybe it's being a docent in an aquarium. Maybe it's working with a high school teacher during the summer, you know, seeing what it's like with lessons plans and actually being in the classroom. Those sorts of things can be supported for students in their first 2 years through that, through the Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship Program. Okay, so one of the things, and I know 45 minutes is not long, but are there specific questions that you guys walked into this room with that you would really like us to address?
One I have is, where do you see DOL projects falling in one of those top two divisions, as far as having a successful DOL project and then looking to sustain that and disseminate that to other states?
Okay, so DOL meaning TACT?
Yes.
Okay, so so I would say that one of the things you don't want to do is write a proposal that says, we were a TACT awardee and we have more stuff to do and we're doing great work, so you should give us more money and support us, okay? What you want to do is you want to say, we've actually been really good fiscal agents of the funds that we were awarded under a TACT proposal. We met the goals and objectives that we said we were going to do, but we still see a need. So there's like 5 questions I think are really good. You want to craft a really good competitive proposal. What's your need? How do you propose to respond to or answer that need? Do you have the people with expertise to carry out what you think you can do to address that need? How are you going to know if you're successful? And how are you going to tell other people about it so that it impacts other people? So I think TACT awardees, I think you guys can absolutely look at the ATE program, but try and think about it in terms of what are the next steps that you have to do, not just, well, you know, 4 years wasn't long enough, we have a whole bunch of other stuff we want to do. What's an additional need that you have? What came out of TACT that leads you to your next project?
And read the solicitation.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, you know, the way you're going to know what you have conceived in your mind, whether that fits well with NSF funding, is to make sure that what you have in mind is aligned well with the mission that's very clearly articulated in all of the program solicitations. So, and then if you still have some cloudy alignment issues, you should contact one of us or contact her.
Yeah, right, on us.
Contact, you know, somebody who's listed on the page on the NSF, either in the solicitation or on the staff page, and bounce your idea or ideas off of her or him and see, does it look like a good fit? And if not, how could you morph it a little bit to make it fit?
Yeah.
You know, there's flexibility in both your perspective and how you might make that fit well with ATE or whatever program. There are other programs you might want to consider. You may be developing learning environments that fit well with what IUS is trying to accomplish. That's really important as well. I would love to see more community college get involved in that space.
Yeah, and I would say, in contrast to DOL, where once a call for proposals hits the street, you can't talk to anyone. One of the nice things that we can provide for you is that anytime, even up to the date of submission of a proposal, you can call us up, you can email us, you can talk to us. We're always happy to take a 1 to 2 page synopsis. We won't take your 15-page draft to read and give you comments on. Can't do that. We wouldn't get any other work done. But a 1 to 2 page synopsis of your project ideas, you can absolutely send it to us attached to an email and ask for feedback on it. If I'm not the appropriate person, my background, Dave's a chemist, I had a biotechnology program in California. So if it's something in manufacturing or engineering, I'm going to give it to one of the engineers who work on the program to give you feedback, but we'll get feedback to you on your project ideas. So that's definitely something to think about.
Let me say something about that. That's a really unique feature about the Division of Undergraduate Education. It does, the entire swath of STEM disciplines are represented therein. There are STEM educators from computer science and math and biology, chemistry, physics, engineering, everybody. So
Yeah.
you can ping somebody in the division who has expertise in whatever STEM discipline or disciplines. Maybe you're looking at an interdisciplinary project, but nonetheless, that's one of the really unique features of DUE is its disciplinary expertise, because
Yeah.
other divisions are either very homogeneous, the physics division, the biology or engineering directorate,
Right.
or there are divisions on learning in general where there's a lot of non-disciplinary folks in there.
Yeah.
So.
Any other specific questions? You are, okay, yes.
I've been given partial release time by the state of California Community College Faculty Cybersecurity.
Yep.
And I've done some pretty incredible things, but funding is somewhat limited. Is that the sort of thing, and deal primarily with pathways?
Okay, so is the question, can you craft a proposal that asks for enough release time for you to adequately do the project?
No, I have enough release time.
Okay.
Dollars and cents to be certified cybersecurity competitions, those sorts of things, through middle school, high school, community college.
Okay, so it would be to support running competitions?
Support student participation.
Okay, so I think the only thing I would say there is again, it's the read the solicitation, because what you would need to do would be to be able to tie that. You've got a pathway going, but it needs to be tied to producing a highly qualified entry-level technical person who can go into the workforce, at least with an associate or certificate, potentially with also the knowledge that there's a pathway to complete a 4-year degree as well if they want to do that. But it can't just be we want to do competitions. It's got to somehow be tied into that workforce.
Our workforce is defined typically by age and white males.
Yeah.
And so I'm finding that we have to reach that out to middle schools and high schools.
And ATE can support grades 7 through 12 as well as 2-year and 4-year. So it does at least encompass the grades 7 through 12. So
And there's also the CAE 2Y model.
right, that's right. That's right.
I was going to say we're good, and now I'll talk to the gentleman.
Oh, good, great. Okay, so in terms of time, because I know I was in here a little while ago and 45 minutes just like flew by. Let's get to the next one. So here's just a few facts specifically on ATE. As I mentioned, the focus is the production of a highly qualified workforce for the high-tech fields that drive the nation's economy. There are 3 tracks within the program. There are projects, there's ATE centers, and targeted research on technician education. So it's really not per se basic research, it's this kind of applied research. What are we learning? What are some of the questions? Maybe could have to do with what happens, what's the impact of competitions on student persistence and completion of a STEM degree and moving into the workforce? You know, that could potentially be an interesting question. I talked a little bit about who could be the reach of the program, and obviously that lends itself to pathways. Community and technical colleges must be in leadership roles. Doesn't mean you have to be the fiscal agent. So it could be that you are working with a 4-year partner, and the 4-year partner is actually going to be the fiscal agent, but there has to be community college faculty in leadership roles. And those education industry partnerships are really a hallmark of ATE. I keep running around DC at all these meetings, and I think Dave is the same thing, and people go, well, you know, we really don't know how to work with industry. I mean, how is education going to work with industry? And we're both going, there's 21 years of expertise in this ATE community. What do you mean we don't know how to work with industry? So, so that's definitely a real hallmark. The proposal deadline for this year, October 8th. So October 8th at 5 p.m. Your local time.
Assuming we're open for business.
Assuming we're, yeah, thanks. Yeah, there's been another rumor going around that there's going to be another shutdown, and I'm like, oh, please, no. Anybody who submitted the last time knows that it was a complete fiasco of timing and everything. We actually went back to work on the deadline date for the ATE program last time. Okay, so projects can be $300,000 a year for up to 3 years. Small, new to ATE, that anybody who attended the Mentor Connect session earlier today knows a little bit about that. That's for institutions that have either never come into this program or have not come in the past 10 years. In contrast to the funding rate of 21%, the funding rate for small, new to ATE, if your institution qualifies for that, is anywhere from 60 to 80%. You have a really good chance of getting funded in that particular area. I put the Mentor Connect URL up there because there's a whole lot of things that they can provide, regardless of whether you're part of the cohort or not. Matt?
Yeah, I got a question on the funding. Let's say you get $900,000 for a project and you front load it and you spend $450,000 in 1 year and then taper it down depending on what your project scope looks like.
You actually can do that. So the maximum, the maximum can't be more than 900,000.
But you can spread it any way.
But you really can spread it out.
All right,
Yeah.
there's not a rule where you
It's-
have to break it up.
Yeah, you just want to justify it. It could be
Right.
that front loading is you have, maybe a whole bunch of development
Right.
stuff you have to do in year 1, and then year 2 and 3 you're identifying your, beta tests, alpha and beta test sites, and you're rolling it out, and it's not going to take as much of that intense time on the part of the immediate project personnel. So that actually does work. And then there's a new area within projects called ATE coordination networks. That last year was the very first time that was offered, and that was an idea of centers and projects that are working in areas that maybe have crossover areas, like MEMS and nano is one, right? Maybe it would be a way to provide some funding so that an expanded network could be developed. And hopefully it's not people that already are all working together that say, God, we can get another chunk of money, $200,000 a year for up to 4 years. We can get more money this way. If it's an established network, that isn't going to review well. But thinking what Dave said about interdisciplinary projects, if you're thinking about manufacturing these days, you could have manufacturing working with rapid prototyping people projects, working with nano, if you're doing bio stuff, you could be doing, you think about, building those kinds of new and different networks. Hopefully things that, a little bit like our keynote speaker this morning, makes everybody think outside the box and pushes everybody a little bit more to maybe make some of those more potentially maybe risky, but maybe high payoff kinds of projects. Yes?
Does that include a new program as one of those networks?
Yeah, it definitely could be. I didn't put, there's no limit on the description there. It's just that it can't be an established network using this as a way to get more money. You got to think outside your box. Okay? All right, this is from the ATE at 20 book, which is available on the atecentral.net site. Just to give you an idea, usually there's somewhere between around 300 active projects, and this gives you an idea of some of the different areas that are covered. Advanced manufacturing, engineering technologies, and advanced technological education are big portions of the portfolio for ATE, but it covers a whole range of different areas. And we're always interested in some of the new and emerging areas. If you've got an industry, a new thing coming into your area and you want to be responsive and work with that industry partner, we're always happy to see things coming in that are new. And Dave would love to see more Chem-Tech suddenly arising from the dust, because an awful lot of Chem-Tech programs kind of disappeared over the last, 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know why, right? I mean, it seems like pharmaceutical companies should still really want a lot of chemists. And we've got biopharmaceutical projects and things like that, but we don't, Chemtech really kind of, we lost ground. So we'd love to see more of those coming in. And I will say that cybersecurity is big in this. So if you look at that yellow piece of 18% information and security technologies, the majority of that is cybersecurity. IT proposals, general information technology programs, were so low this last year that they didn't even have their own panel. So if anybody out there has IT needs, ATE would love to expand the portfolio around that particular area. The other thing, those academic industry partnerships, industry has done it really works closely with the ATE community. Everything from just general information, you want to have workforce needs front and center. If you're going to work with industry and you're going to produce hopefully graduates that industry is interested in hiring, you better know what they want and what they need, all the way to financial or in-kind support. The MATE Center at Monterey Peninsula College gets millions of dollars from industry, helping them run their global ROV competition every year. So there's another competition one to look at. And they are actually a support center. Vince Denoto's helped develop some of these maps. Every single, I guess it would be a pin on there. Yeah. You can click on and it will give you information about the active projects. And just because there aren't pins in a few of those states, over the lifetime of the program, we've actually hit every state and the majority of U.S. territories as well. And I pulled up a couple of projects just to give you an idea of some of the things that ATE does. And this was, actually I was doing something for the biomanufacturing people. So this is a single-use bioreactor system education and training project. Is Jim here? Linnea, is Jim here?
Yeah.
Jim's here. So, okay, so Jim DeClo's here. So if you run into Jim DeClo, you can ask him about his project. So it's creating curricular materials to address single-use disposable bioreactor gap in the national biotechnology curriculum. Pretty, pretty central idea. It's easy to grasp. You see that there's something that's doable and that it's addressing a need. Another one is
That was a new to ATE.
and he was a small new to ATE.
Yeah.
Yeah, Solana Community College, that was small new to ATE. This one's an interesting one. This is Salt Lake Community College, and this is actually a student-run company. And Mary Nelson is the current PI on this award, and very, very interesting. It's students running a contract manufacturing organization. They actually sell their products, and the profit runs back, folds back into the company. It's a quality controlled company, so students learn an awful lot about what the industry is really like, and it's basically supporting biotechnology programs both in high schools and in community colleges. And the School of Business has worked with them, so they've got a business plan. They're learning a lot about what industry is really like. Okay, specific questions about ATE. Okay.
I know you're going to talk about this some tomorrow, but these folks might not hear. You want to talk about how the NNMI and the ATE.
Okay. So yeah, this is the NNMI is the president's initiative on supporting manufacturing institutes across the United States. I think the original one was there were going to be 16 of them. I think 16 manufacturing institutes. The first one that was awarded, the name of it is America Makes. It's in Youngstown, Ohio, and it's on 3D printing, rapid prototyping. So. This all started, that initiative rolled out about the same time everybody across the federal government was being told that we should all play nicely together, right? We're in the same sandbox. We're all supposed to be nice and share our toys and do things together that really enhance everything. We're not duplicating things, we're supporting each other. So with these manufacturing institutes, a piece of every manufacturing institute is supposed to be workforce development. So NSF's role in this, I do not believe we are supporting any call for proposals to establish an institute, at least not that I know of at this time. But we've worked with the Departments of Defense, Commerce, and Energy, writing and having approved memorandums of understanding that when an institute is funded, if they work with active ATE PIs who have been doing workforce development for a considerable amount of time, that the ATE people can come in and request supplements to support that work. So it's not the Manufacturing Institute that gets the direct money. It's a supplement to the ATE awards. But it's about kind of forcing the institutes to come to all of you guys, everybody who has an award, or maybe those who are thinking about writing one, you guys know how to have a technician education program that's really highly effective. So that's a huge portion. I usually ask this, for every PhD or engineer, how many technicians do you need? 5, 6. I've heard 5, 6, 7. Lowest is like 3. So a big piece of workforce development around a manufacturing institute should be the technician workforce. And so far, it has not been a real successful initiative. I think a lot of the academics that are in these institutes, their idea of workforce development is postdocs. So I want to keep pushing, right? I mean, postdocing is great, it really is, but an entry-level workforce is really critical. Anything else on AT? Yes.
I guess just in general, as far as National Science Foundation, the budget goes, how long has it been since the budget has been increased for National Science Foundation?
This year we got an additional $2 million because Congress kind of slapped NSF around.
Well, that was just ATE. He's asking the agency.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
as an agency, I guess.
oh, as an agency, how?
This year.
Oh, the budget for NSF has gone up almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
Not.
But ATE, so
But
ATE
ATE
was
is-
the one that was stagnant.
But
before.
ATE has been flat funded. Yeah.
So this year wasn't.
This year we got an increase from 64 million to 66 million.
Do you anticipate being able to award more projects based on that allotment?
Well, $2 million doesn't go far when a single project is 900,000. But it's better than staying flat funded or getting cut. So I am very pleased to say we got that bump. So all right, scholarships in STEM. You want to do STEM?
Sure. So Celeste already asked for a show of hands regarding who among you at your institution has students who are academically talented but also in need of financial support. And it's, if not ubiquitous, certainly very, very close to a ubiquitous situation that our students in community colleges oftentimes are low income. And so the STEM program, as again Celeste already alluded, is completely supported through H-1B visa fees. And for those who aren't familiar with H-1B visas, those are documents that an American company pays the government to get in order to import talent from another country to work for that American company. And so the idea, and the Congress in their wisdom, and I mean that sincerely, saw this opportunity to help grow our own homegrown STEM workforce. And so there's a certain amount of money coming in H-1B visa fees. We've got a workforce that isn't obviously supplying enough talent because we're bringing people from overseas. And so if we take some of that money and pour it into our own homegrown students, we should see the number coming out of the pipeline go up and the number of fees for H-1B visas decrease. There should be this inverse relationship in the ideal world. And so that's the whole idea about the program. Basically, the program, there's a brand new solicitation on the street, so you definitely need to look at it because it has changed. For those of you who are familiar with the old incarnation or the prior incarnation, It has changed in that there are some different ways that money can be spent. It's a little less restrictive than it was. There was in the older version, almost all the money had to go into scholarships, and there was very, very little left over to do anything else to support the project or student support services, to pay tutors or other aspects like that. Now it's a little more supportive of those non-scholarship activities. The idea is the institution receives a grant. Scholarships don't go from NSF to individual students. The grant goes to an institution. The institution decides who's eligible. They come up with the criteria for what defines, in their particular context, academic talent. The default system for determining the financial need is the FAFSA. So many students do that already. So defining the academic talent is up to you. Putting together some kind of support structures, whether that be cohort building among the students in whatever discipline or disciplines are being supported, monthly seminars where folks from industry come in and help build that identity as a scientist. I'm not just a student, but I can see the product of what the fruits of my labor are going to be. I'm going to be writing code and defending against cyber attacks someday because this person came in and related to what I'm doing now as a student in their career. With all actually the solicitation provides an awful lot of resources to consult to look at some of these support structures. So the idea is to get degrees. It's all the overarching goal is to support students through degree. So if you can fill the unmet need, financial need, between what the student is expected to be able to provide, the institutional cost of attendance, whatever that difference is, up to $10,000 per year per student can come from an STEM scholarship. And so every single one of you should, in my humble opinion, submit a proposal this year because I would love to see just a flood come in from community colleges.
Yes.
I won't have to process them this year, but nonetheless, I still want to see that flood come in, like Noah's flood. Yes, go ahead.
Well, that was going to be my question. Does it matter if it's 2 or 4 a year?
No, absolutely not. And actually, you can work with a partner for your institution where the student has the possibility of taking support with her or him upon transfer. So if you can make that case in those 15 pages of project description that that's a genuine pathway with support on both sides, then that's one option that many students would really benefit from. Go ahead.
So would it also support like a 4-year bachelor's degree at college?
Sure. Any degree. Absolutely. Well, not a PhD, but certainly.
Although it can go up to a master's.
It could go to a master's,
Yeah.
So absolutely. There are institutions that have master's
Do you have
level.
to demonstrate that your H-1B visas given out locally match?
No. That's just the pot of money that all the grants are made from. That's a good question.
Yeah.
We have a STEM grant already.
Yay!
Our program fits into that, so we've, actually, we're talking about a transfer to another university. I'm not 100% sure about that university, but they would not be under that 4-year transfer to that. Would they apply separately and eventually we get under that same, you know?
I'm a little slow. It's too quick. Lunch was just a little while ago. I'm a little blood deprived.
So we have an STEM, I've already worked it out with the program that our 2-year students can fit under that STEM scholarship. They have a transfer to the University of Illinois.
Okay.
My alma mater, yay!
Oh, really? Oh, fantastic. I'm actually looking at a school outside of the state because Illinois does not have a school of technology. Would that other school have to apply for STEM in order for my students to go to that school?
No.
No.
You know, one of the things that you have the flex, your institution has, once it gets the budget, once you get that grant, as long as you're not transferring funds out of participant support, you have some wiggle room into how those line items can be, of course, subject to audit down the road. You want to do things on the up and up. But other than transferring funds out of the participant support budget, you have flexibility on how those funds are utilized. And so if you decide an opportunity comes along that looks like it's going to get, it's going to produce really good results, if you make this slight alteration, you could certainly look at the possibility of supporting your students upon transfer to that other out-of-state institution. You just need to follow your own internal institutional policies and procedures regarding transfers of funds. You don't need to get permission from your program officer or anything like that. You do if it's out of participant support. That's really the only line item that's sacred.
We got one question in the back first. Yeah.
So, the Department of Labor apprenticeship grant that came out earlier this year that had to do with the H-1B1 visas and fulfilling that need. We looked into that, and that, as we've heard, is primarily 4-year or above students, graduates, and or advanced degrees students. You said, I think I heard you say that doesn't matter here, that the H-1B visa just happens to be the channel that's coming through.
That's right.
But I'm assuming there'll be questions in there that'll tie back to that in somewhere or another. It's the H-1B1 world, and there's very little connection that I see between 2-year degrees and H-1B, or H-1B visa.
No.
No, it's just the money, and NSF has 2 programs that are funded by H-1B visa fees. One is STEM, the other is the HI-TEC program, and
Which is a K-12 program.
And there's no reporting. I've managed, and so has Celeste, STEM awards, and there's nothing in any reporting requirement that has anything to do with what's happening in the H-1B visa world in your community or anything like that. It's just the pot of money from which NSF gets to make these grants.
Yep.
Yeah, it's clean.
So I wanted to ask about this transfer thing. So the way that works is that community college has the funds, the students transfer to the university, then you give the money to the university to do the scholarships, or are you still funding the student while they're attending the university?
You're handling the money.
Yeah.
You got the money.
And would that work, I mean, with the college?
Yeah.
You know, one thing you may want to do if you're interested in STEM is to go do an awards, search the awards, go to the NSF award search database and look at some STEM awards and see what they're doing. And you can, the contact information of the PI is on that award abstract page, and contact her or him to see how they're doing and what they're doing, and
go from there.
There are very successful models. There's a variety of them. So there's not a one size fits all. So shop around.
I'm going to say let's keep going because we've only done 2 programs. This is from the new solicitation. There's now 2 strands. So strand 1 is called institutional capacity building, and strand 2 is STEM design and development. So we don't have that much time to go over it, but the PowerPoint's going to be available on the HI-TEC website, so you can look at it, and as we'll both say multiple times probably in the next 3 to 4 minutes, read the solicitations. Yeah. So,
what she said, yep.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the Noyce Scholarship Program. So again, this is STEM undergraduates, not a teacher education person, but a person who's going for a math degree, a biology degree, a chemistry degree, a physics degree, who's got an interest in teaching and who is willing to commit to accepting a scholarship, and for every year that they are supported, they agree to, once they are credentialed, to teach in a high-needs school for 2 years for every year they've been supported. So it's a very interesting program. That 2-year, 4-year partnership can be very effective. And it's a great way, a lot of people, I used to hire adjuncts from industry and they'd go, I'm so excited about this, I always wanted to teach. Some of them are still teaching short courses at my home institution in California, and some of them after 2 quarters said, you know what? This is so much more work than I ever thought it would be. I won't leave you stranded, but I'm going to go find somebody else to teach this class. And it was a short course. It only met 5 times. Okay? So, giving students an early experience of what it's really like to teach and think about whether this is really something you want to do as a career pathway is something that can be really, really important. Okay, I'm going to turn IUs over to you.
Okay, so IUs is the Improving Undergraduate STEM Education Program. It formally hit the street. I was telling the story at lunch about what happened in November of 2013 when it hit the street and caught all of us by surprise.
Yeah.
In that it subsumed 3 programs. Originally there was a TWOS program, the STEP program, and WIDER program. All 3 of those were wrapped up into the IUs program. Each of those had slightly different foci and missions. So IUs, in theory, should be able to support anything that could have been supported by any one of those individual legacy programs that became IUs. There are 2 program tracks. There's the Engaged Student Learning, and there's the Institutional and Community Transformation. So those titles of the tracks essentially explain what they're all about. Engaged Student Learning could be developing learning environments with flipped classrooms or project-based learning or whatever some of the high-impact practices or evidence-based strategies for student learning, incorporating those into curricula and programs and student experiences, and showing that you've got a way to measure the impact of doing that and contributing something to the knowledge base. Sort of the mantra of IUs is knowledge or evidence-based and knowledge or evidence generating. There should be both knowledge in the input and knowledge on the output that is involved in every IU's endeavor. Now, producing knowledge doesn't necessarily mean conducting education research or really good evaluation program, evaluation component to a project can generate knowledge. But the criteria are, the bar's raising a little bit. In this age of accountability and transparency and showing results for investments, every project is expected to be able to contribute something to the knowledge base about the intervention or idea that was supported in the grant. So Engaged Student Learning and Institutional and Community Transformation both have 2 tiers within those tracks: exploration and design and implementation. I like to think of them more about the size and the scope of what you really want to do as opposed to the title of each of them. The exploration tiers are up to $300,000 for 3 years. The design and implementation are the larger grants within Engaged Student Learning. There are 2 separate levels within that tier, one up to $600K for 3 years, and then really large ones up to $2 million for 5 years. And then within the Institutional and Community Transformation track, the design and implementation is up to $3 million for 5 years. Institutional and Community Transformation is really what it, again, the label indicates. You're taking a whole college or a school of math, science, and engineering on your campus and making all the labs in physics and chemistry and biology inquiry-based. You're transforming a whole community of scholars and educators. So the idea is to really make sweeping change. It's motivated by the fact that for many years, NSF has been making investments in how students learn, what are effective practices, but many of that hasn't been propagated. There are, I don't know how many chemistry laboratories teaching undergraduates around the country, but not all of them are doing inquiry-based stuff. There's still a lot of people out there doing verification labs, right? I can give you a beaker that I already know what the pH is, but you need to figure out what that pH is. And that may not be as stimulating and productive to learning as inquiry-based things. And so the idea is we need to transform the communities of scholars and educators, and that's where the ICT track, the Institutional and Community Transformation, supports projects along that, of that style.
And I brought, for anybody who's a biologist in the room, Vision and Change in undergraduate biology education started actually in 2009. There's now a second book called Chronicling Change, Inspiring the Future. So this is an effort at doing exactly what institutional and community transformation is about. So this is going to be available. It just was printed. It's just going out from AAAS, and you can also download it from the AAAS website if you're interested in this. And we're, you know,
just about out of time.
We're
Or
just
are we
about
over?
out of time. So there's, again, I'm going to skip through a few things here. And I apologize, 45 minutes just goes really fast.
Yeah. And we'll be around to
And
talk
we'll be
to.
around, and these will be available. So there's a couple of examples of funded projects. And then we ended up, well, there's questions. One other thing, and Dave's actually taken advantage of this. This has been very underutilized. Pretty much everybody knows about SBIR programs, Small Business Innovation Research, starting a new company, right? Getting things going. An SBIR Phase 2 grantee, the company, can request a supplement to have a faculty person and a couple of his students work with that company doing a research project. Dave's done, how many, 3?
4.
4 of them. And highly, highly beneficial, great for Dave and the students and the companies, very underutilized. So if you're interested in in something like that for your students and yourself, think about that. And then we got to, there's a next set of things that just gives you some of the things to remember to look at. This publication has both the grant proposal guide, and we get a lot of questions after somebody gets an award of how do I do X? How do I actually draw down money on my award? How do I, you know, do I have to get a program officer's permission if I want to move money from materials and supplies into whatever, right? A lot of the answers to those questions are in this one particular document. And then there's, you know, here's the read the solicitation again. It really does tell you a lot. And then the common guidelines, that whole idea of knowledge-based and knowledge-generating. This was a publication that came out, the Common Guidelines for Education Research and Development, that both NSF and the Department of Education worked on. Worth looking at because it defines a lot of those things. You know, what do we mean by knowledge-based? What is discipline-based education, research, that sort of a thing. This just gives you a little more information on common guidelines. And I think that's it.